So this film tells those stories and lends voices to those artists from the past who were silenced, those who chose to step away like Billy did, and the new voices that are changing the game for them and hopefully bringing more attention to these artists.
Today on Rainbow Country, Song Silenced, coming out in Christian music.
Hi, I'm Christopher Rice, and this is Rainbow Country with Mark Tara.
Billy Newton Davis, hi, hello, how are you?
Oh, I am so good. I'm really good. Thank you. And thank you for asking.
Oh, you're more than welcome. Rai Levy, bonjour, comment ça va?
They bien. I'm doing great. Really happy and so thrilled to be on here with you, Mark, and am with the incredible Billy Newton Davis.
All right.
Well,
Thank you.
well, I have to say thank you both for being here, especially to talk about Song Silenced. Song
Yes.
Silenced coming out in Christian music. This is a new documentary. Rai, you are the director, you are the writer, you're one of the producers. Talk to me about this film, this documentary, and essentially what it's all about.
Well, yeah, thank you again. So Song Silenced coming out in Christian music is a documentary that explores the lives of Christian music artists from the past and present. And we tell the story about artists who either walked away from Christian music before they came out, artists who came out at the height of their careers and were silenced and removed from the Christian music industry, and how contemporary queer Christian music artists are using tools like Spotify and iTunes to disrupt the Christian music industry by going number one on iTunes contemporary Christian music charts. So this film tells those stories and lends voices to those artists from the past who were silenced, those who chose to step away like Billy did, and the new voices that are changing the game for them and hopefully bringing more attention to these artists.
So, Billy Newton Davis, you are featured in Song Silenced. For
Y-
yourself,
Yes.
why was it important for you to want to be part of this film, this documentary, to lend your voice to it? Why was this important for you?
Well, I'm a big, gay rights person, and I am anything I can do to lend my voice to something that I really believe in. Um, Rye came to me, and I just thought the story was incredible, and I wanted to be a part because my roots are, growing up in the Baptist church in Cleveland when I was a little boy. And I mean, long story short, I have many stories about it, but the best one is my own minister who, just gave me grace and told me to sing and be successful. And I just realized how modern he was because not only did did he encourage me, but we had a drag queen on the piano in church on Sunday morning. And it was just fabulous, how it was warm and welcoming from the correct people. And so when I don't want to go off, but when Rye came to me, it just touched my soul, and it brought up a lot of stuff of being little in the church and what that was like and what I saw, how it influenced me today.
Hmm. Right. Song Silence features well known artists like Billy Newton Davis, emerging voices from Christian music. How did you end up choosing the artists to feature that you did? How did these artists end up in Song Silence? Talk to me about that process.
So when I started conceiving of the idea in my head, I had just had a film play at the Philadelphia Gay and Lesbian Film Festival. And there was I was playing my short documentary in front of a film called The New Black, which looked at the second Obama election, the second term election, and that looked at how they were pitting the LGBTQ community against black the Black community. And in that film was an artist named Tone, who now goes by the name B. Slade. And I was fascinated by this story and moved by the story that Tone had been essentially run out of faith-based music for choosing to come out. And so, as is often the case, because I like to find stories about hidden histories or places where our community is often not as visible. I wanted to find other voices that were similar. And it's something I did with my previous film, Out in the Ring, with LGBTQ pro wrestlers. I started finding other artists who had been down this journey, and that led me to people like Marcia Stevens Pino, and her legendary song, For Those Tears I Died, being part of the first Christian music supergroup, coming out in 1980, and subsequently losing her career, but then finding her wife and slowly but surely eventually re-entering music in a different way. And that led me to Ray Boltz. And then there were more and more stories, and people were starting to come out. And the opportunities for these artists who left, just those stories came up. So I started reaching out to those artists, and then artists would recommend me to speak to other artists. And then I would hear about people like in the film Azariah Southworth, who was a music host, basically hosted a Christian MTV kind of video hits type show for music artists. And he was erased from that network when he came out. With the footage we have of that show is actually from DVDs he loaned me because the show had been erased from the entire history of that show. So that was how I came to get those artists. It was a matter of just finding people and slowly reading about their stories. And I was blessed to find the what I feel is a really interesting blend and diverse, rich group of musicians and voices.
Billy, earlier you were talking about when Rye came to you about this project that it raised some maybe it raised some memories, some emotions about your early days in singing in gospel music. Being part of this documentary and thinking about your early days in music, in gospel music, was it cathartic for you? Was there that aspect of being part of this film?
Um, it made me think about doing a show, and the wardrobe guy who designed the wardrobe put me in these particular shoes and pants, and I said, "Why do you have me in this outfit?" He says, "Because I need you to hunker down and be more masculine." And it was just something that I've kind of fought, and I've had to deal with it. It's just in my old days now that I just get as flamboyant as I feel like I want to be. But you had, they called you these terrible names, and you're out there singing in God's name. And I mean, I didn't choose this. This is me, and I love it. I love it. So I often want to think I was pretty lucky because I kind of just did my own thing. And when I think about it, I would, move from one thing to another thing, but I would never lose myself. And I think that that's what you have to be very, very careful of. And in Christian music, that's what happens. And I just want to point out one thing, one of the most wonderful things about the film is hearing the other stories, because we're all uniquely different in our stories, but the stories are all the same, Mark. It's the same story. It's just different places, different people, different genres of music. And it was very exciting for me, because I've now seen the film around 3 times, and each time I see it, I get something from it. I hope I answered your question, because I kind of went off a little bit, but It's a brilliant film. I think that it's just a wonderful message, and it's just part and part of what we do every day to be out.
I want to talk about the opening. The first couple minutes, maybe 2.5 minutes, it kind of makes you feel good. And then, quote, no homos will ever be allowed on this church as long as I'm pastor here. Never, unquote. I'm going to read that again. No homos will ever be allowed on this church as long as I'm the pastor here. Never. And that's a quote uh, from a pastor featured in the documentary. The opening of this film, it's bittersweet. On one hand, it makes you feel good. On the other hand, it's like a dagger in the heart. Rye, for yourself in editing, in creating this film, this documentary, was the opening always going to be the way that it is, or was it done essentially in the editing process?
I think I had kind of an idea that I wanted people to understand why these artists felt moved by music, what it gave them, why they believe, why they love the way they love, why the way they create, how they were raised in those spaces. And when Billy's experience, was unique in that, his pastor told him some good things, but there was still a component of Billy leaving because Billy didn't see a future in that music if he was to be who he wanted to be. They weren't going to let him. Now, Billy could have stayed behind, and we probably would have had a story like a Tone or a Ray Boltz or a Trey Pearson, and we wouldn't have and they could have silenced his voice.
Well said. Well said. Here's my last question for the two of you, and it's simply this: what do you hope audiences come away with once they've experienced songs silenced coming out in Christian music? Rye, for yourself, what do you hope audiences take away from your documentary?
I think my hope with this film and any of my films is that people understand that this community is in places that they may not necessarily see them being. I think it's important for audiences to understand the struggle is still there. It still continues. It doesn't go away. It probably and sadly will never go away. But in that struggle, we find so much strength. And to be able to lend credence and lend an opportunity to share these voices and see these faces and hear these stories is ultimately what I want people to do. I want them to know that there are people in this space. These are people who shouldn't have to give up what they believe and love, and that they will hopefully find common ground, even if they're not necessarily from a religious space. I think ultimately the universality of being able to live our truths and love without sacrifice is key, and I hope that that is conveyed when they see the film.
And Billy, for yourself, what do you hope audiences come
I
away
will.
with?
My thing about it, and I know Rye will agree. That we're shaking it up. We're shaking some things up. We're getting people to look at things. The film really gets you to look at what is really real and what it really is all about. I just know I believe in God, and I believe in a God, and I know that He gives me strength, but I don't believe that He's going to be telling me where to sing tomorrow or what song to sing. I will always want to believe that I sing what I sing because of my gift. And if I didn't have this gift, I wouldn't be able to give it.
Mm. Well said to the two of you. Rye Levy, Billy Newton Davis, well said, well done, well filmed, well recorded, Billy.
Thank
Thank you
you.
both for your time. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you
Thank
very
you. Thank you.